better. Hello, I'm Kim. This is the Coffee and Craft podcast and you are no longer blurry. Right, I don't know if you saw my video last week. If you didn't, I did a video on Etsy's updates or some of the stuff that they'd said, and anytime I do a video on that, I always know it's going to be a thing. And a few things happened last week that just became a thing. One of which being that, and I'm happy about this, but it was still a thing. Was it CNBC did a video about Etsy, which is well worth a watch. But I wasn't expecting to see videos of YouTubers who covered the same topic scroll past, and my face was up there. So it was just as I was drinking my coffee first thing in the morning, it was a bit of a jolt. I did get over myself and realise that actually it was really cool. It was really good that my face was in this video, which was a whole conversation about something that I actually feel very passionate about. So I'm happy. To give myself a bit of a break this week, I'm going to be talking about my website, and that's kind of your fault, because after reading all of the comments, and also a lot of the comments on the CNBC video as well, I saw just how many people are so disillusioned with Etsy now, and it brings up this whole conversation of, if not Etsy, where? Because I think one of the reasons why Etsy sellers struggle to get off Etsy, and I guess myself included, is because there is nowhere else. It unfortunately isn't as simple as someone else just making another Etsy. Etsy itself took a long time to get off the ground, and as somebody who has been there since the very, very early days, I started my shop after Etsy was only 2 years old in 2007. I can tell you it wasn't a great place to sell back then for very different reasons, but it's not as easy as just making a new platform. Nevertheless, we are disillusioned AF, and we want to unhook ourselves from the Etsy hook. And that's certainly how I felt way back last year, and I made myself a website. I used Shopify to do it. So specifically this week I wanted to talk about how starting a website has changed my business, how it has helped my business. Bearing in mind that I am coming from the point of view of a handmade seller. I sell physical handmade products like finished hand embroidered wall art, supplies and project bags. They're blurry, but you can kind of see I've got some of them hanging up on the wall back there. That's what I do. I do have a couple of print on demand things, but this was more of a test. It's not a big deal. They were just made for the viewers of this channel. And to be brutally honest, I'm actually thinking about taking these off of Etsy completely after I finished my Etsy experiment, which is a whole other thing. I'll talk about that another day. Anywho, that's my thing. That's the point of view that I'm coming at. That's the angle that I'm coming from for this video. So just to add a bit of context. Okay, well, I've spoken about the first one before, and that's that my sales increased. That being said, though, that wasn't what I was expecting. Now, this was a surprise, and I'll tell you for why. I wasn't expecting my sales to increase. I thought they would stay the same. At the time, I felt like I wasn't getting any organic sales from Etsy. Plenty of organic visits, but they weren't converting. That's the bunny. You'll have to bear with me. I had a very bad night's sleep and I'm very tired, so this is going to be a very word wobbly kind of video. I digress again. So all of the sales that I was making were from efforts that I was making off the platform, and I was sort of using Etsy very much as a kind of cart for hire, and I even did a video on that about how I literally used it as if I had to drive all of my traffic, literally as a cart for hire. I thought, well, if I start a website and then I just move across all of my attention, my energy, my links, etc., then it stands to reason that what will happen is that the sales that I was making on Etsy will just transfer over to my website. I was thinking there might be a bit of a dip for the reason that I wasn't sure if people would trust a website in the same way that they trust Etsy. That didn't happen though. And I think that's because, as I say, because I was generating my own traffic, my own sales, they were coming from places like this YouTube channel, my Instagram account, where people see me more, they see my work more, they can build up that know, like and trust factor. Because I wasn't getting the organic sales on Etsy, I wasn't really attracting people who had never seen me before or my work. So I think I underestimated that there was already an element of know, like, trust for me to build on in the first place. So like I said, I was expecting the sales to stay pretty much the same, and I was very surprised when they in fact started to increase, and I couldn't understand why. And when I looked into the analytics month after month after month, I actually tend to get fewer visits on my website than I do from Etsy. And I'm not completely sure what the reason is, but I do suspect that a big part of that is that, well, one, as I talked about, there's already this know, like and trust factor. But two, when people go onto my website, there's not 100 different things vying for the person's attention, pulling them away from the page. They can, click on various links and pages on the website, but all roads lead to Rome, so to speak. There's no other products similar to the one that they're looking at that's going to take them away. Linked to the know, like and trust factor, it could be that there are people who want to genuinely purchase something from me, support me as an artist, I guess. And I don't suppose it hurts that my prices are cheaper on my website, which leads me to the next thing. I found out that I was able to sell things cheaper on my website for the obvious reason, which just hadn't crossed my mind. I didn't have the Etsy fees to contend with. Even though a website... This is where you have to know your numbers to know if a website is a good fit for you or not. Because my Etsy fees were getting to be month on month about the same amount that a monthly subscription to a website would cost me, and I knew that I wasn't going to be paying both, it was literally going to be taking my customers across to the website, I knew it wasn't going to be more expensive, and in the long run it has been cheaper. I do think Etsy is probably the cheapest option when you get going, when you first start out. But when you start to make those consistent sales, the Etsy fees start to add up really, really quickly. But of course on the website, you don't have all of those fees on fees on fees on fees to pay for, so I can pass that saving on to the customer. Now that was something I didn't think about when I started my website, but when I realised that I could do that, I loved it. I kind of wish I'd known that before, to be honest, because I think it would have made me make the leap quicker. But you can't know what you don't know, right? This was one thing that I did know, and I did know that I would be able to link my shop to YouTube here, which is what I use to send a lot of traffic to my, at the time, my Etsy shop. Now you can obviously link products and link your shop in your YouTube descriptions. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But with, Shopify specifically, it's more visual. I mean, if you look below, you'll be able to see some of my products. You can see the pictures. And I do think that's important because we are visual creatures. And what's going to stand out more to someone? A picture or a link that you have to click on and go find. And it's not just YouTube that you can integrate Shopify with. I've likened it to a snail before, which confused some people. What I mean by a snail is that a snail takes its home around with it wherever it goes. And I feel like my website is that. It's something that I can take around the internet with me wherever I go. The other thing I like about it is that for this channel, because obviously these items aren't really a good fit for the audience that I have for this channel, which is where I talk about running a handmade business. I told you I was tired. It at least offers some social proof because I feel it's important if you're going to rock up and say, I am a seller, I do this, I do that, then you need to back it up. And if I'm going to sit here and say, I'm a handmade seller, I've been on Etsy since 2007, I need to be able to back that up. So, having them in the background, you can see that I actually make stuff, and having them there, you can see that I do actually have a website, and so on and so on. Yeah, so it's definitely helped my business feel less fragmented and separate and more, I can't think of the word, just more cohesive. Another one, which is not something that I was expecting, was that my mailing list started to grow. That is the word that I was looking for, good grief. My mailing list started to grow without me having to promote it. Now, when I say growing, I'm not saying like it skyrocketed. You do, if you want to grow your mailing list, have to put effort into it. But even without bringing people's attention to it, even without sharing links to it everywhere. For example, you'll notice that I don't share a link to my mailing list on this channel, and that's simply because, and I say this with love, light and sparkles, you're not my ideal customers for, you know, project bags that knitters and crocheters and whatnot will use. So I tend to link to that in places that they are more likely to hang out, because it always comes down to your target customer, always. I am a firm believer in that there are the right people for your business and there are the wrong people, and not only do you want to attract the right people, but you want to repel the wrong ones too. And this is important for both sides, because a good salesperson will not try to convince someone who doesn't want or doesn't need your thing to buy it. A good salesperson, at least in my mind, knows how to identify the people who want what you have, and knows how to make things that their audience wants and needs, rather than just taking any old random crap and going, you will buy this. My mailing list started to grow because I found a way to be able to get it in front of the people who are the most interested. And to be fair, I do think the convenience part of it has a lot to play there as well. You don't have to copy and paste and do all of the things, or even just click a link. It's just there. The whole sign up page is just there. I have a course, and in it I talk about, what do I talk about? Friction. Among other things, I talk about friction and the importance of removing as much friction as you can between your ideal customer and the cart and all of the things, and just making it as easy for them as possible. And when it comes to your mailing list, it's the same thing. If people have to copy a link and paste it and then click on it, it's friction. There are too many steps, and it's a lot of people are just scrolling for entertainment, or they're just looking for something, and anything that interrupts that scroll and demands that they have to do something else, it just won't do it. So I think the fact that it's just all there, it's just a page and all of the things are already there, there's no copying and pasting URLs or anything like that, I do think that has had a part to play. But I thought I would mention it because I do get asked occasionally how I grow my mailing list, and I do think having the sign up page on my website really, really helps. And I've spoken about this before, so I won't go into too much detail, but obviously it's just it's how much less stressful it is, and also just how it allowed me to stop stressing so much about Etsy. When Etsy was my only form of income for the physical handmade products, every little tweak and change that they implemented was just a thing. And sometimes they would release a thing and you'd be like, oh God, is this something I have to worry about or not? And it was just the mental load of dealing with Etsy. The fact that I've been able to unhook myself from that now. I still love Etsy. I know. I would love to just completely wash my hands of it, to be brutally honest, and just go, you know what, I am done. I've been close. I've been very close. Etsy are talking a good game at the moment, and have been for the last 6 months or so, about what they're doing to try and increase the quality on the site, and more recently, which is what my last video was talking about, how they've said things like suppressing the lower quality listings. The trouble is that the words that they use are they're just open to a huge amount of interpretation and could mean anything, and it's like that for a reason. The other thing that I forgot to mention in my video last week, and I'm kicking myself for it, as somebody correctly pointed out in the comments, they've said all of these things, and I was very kind of like, woo, this could be great because I'm a sucker. But then they have also said, oh yeah, AI art, come on in, which is a complete contradiction in what Josh said about low skill, low will, or however he phrased it, because you cannot get more low skill or more low will than AI art. I'm sorry. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but AI art has been created by taking other people's art without consent, without payment, without acknowledgement, to create what it is. So every time someone's creating AI art, you're doing so off other people's work. So yeah, for Josh to take aim at low skill, low will, and then go, but yeah, AI art, brilliant. Now that would have really wound me up more a year ago. But now that I have my website, there's a part of me that can sort of sit back, watch them as they come out with these things, and just be sort of cool. Yeah, we will see how it plays out. That is basically why I'm still on the platform for now. But it is useful at the moment for another reason, which I haven't spoken about, I don't think, and that is using it as a way to compare buyer behaviour on different platforms. Because a lot of the time, I made mention recently that I haven't sold physical products. I sell digital products internationally, but I haven't sold a physical product internationally on Etsy since the end of 2022. I didn't realise it had been that long. I did realise that I hadn't been getting any international orders for my physical products, and I just sort of wrote it off and thought, well, you know, times are tough, people have less money to spend, postage, yada yada yada. Except if it was that, then that would also apply to my website. And it's not the case. In fact, most of the time my website is 50-50, almost straight down the middle between domestic sales and international sales. In fact, last month it was all international. Every single order that I made was to the US. So that doesn't make sense. That's not the answer. It seems to be something specific with Etsy specifically, at least for me and what I do. And I just find being able to compare those two really, really interesting. And it also is a bit scary to me that if I had stuck with Etsy and Etsy alone, I would be cutting myself off from international sales, and that by creating my website, I've now got them back again. That seems counterintuitive to me. Surely a global site like Etsy should be the one to give you access to global customers, but no. Like I said, not for the last year, but my website, yeah. And I think that's another reason why my sales have increased, and as a result, my business has grown since getting the website. Now this is kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to show that it wasn't just sales where my website has had an impact. It's my entire business. And I think this is the thing that has been the most beneficial about creating my website. It's enabled me to stop having parts of my business separate, like YouTube here, shop here, and it's all integrated, and an ecosystem. That was the word I was trying to look for earlier. It feels like more of an integrated ecosystem. The only downside that I can think of is that I can't link my Shopify website to a YouTube channel that isn't monetized. However, that's not a website/Shopify issue, that's YouTube. So I talk about this more in my my YouTube group, where I essentially made so that I could talk about YouTube stuff, because I've tried to do it on this channel and you guys don't like it. So yeah, to say that it's a niche community would be a bit of an understatement. But I talk about YouTube there, and I've got my own goals for my other YouTube channel, and one of those is to get it monetized, not to the point that I can have ads on it, because I feel like I don't want to go down that route with that channel. But I do want to get it monetized to the point where I can link my shop to it. Not that I will remove it from here. I think it's useful to have on this channel as well. Again, as I said, for social proof. But that's my goal for the channel, and I kind of share my progress and whatnot over there with the other group members. Will I manage it? Who knows? If you want to find out, you can follow me over there and cheer me on. Right, so that's the impact that a website had on my business. In case any of you were still on the fence, I do think it is worth it, as long as you have the budget for it, obviously. Yeah, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Just in case, because I know that some people might ask me in the comments how I drive traffic to my website. I made a video about it because of course I did. That's kind of my job. And if you want to go and check it out, I will see you there. And if not, I hope I kept you company. I hope I didn't bore you, and I will hopefully see you again next week. Ta-ra!